Paolo Banchero is your Eastern Conference Player of the Week, plus what the Orlando Magic need to advance in the in-season tournament. I promise I will explain everything and confuse you even more. It's time to get to it today on Locked On Magic.
You are Locked On Magic, your daily Orlando Magic podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And you are indeed Locked On Magic. Today is November 28th, 2023. My name is Philip Rossman-Reich. I'm the expert and site editor over at OrlandoMagicDaily.com. Of course, follow me on Twitter at PhilipRR_OMD. On today's episode of Locked On Magic, Paolo Banchero gets his first Eastern Conference Player of the Week award, the first of many, I am sure, to come. We'll talk about what that means for the Magic and the attention they are getting now. Then we're going to get into the nitty-gritty. We're going to talk about what the Orlando Magic need to happen on Tuesday to advance in the in-season tournament. I will try to make it as simple as possible, but I will end up confusing you more. So don't worry. I'm going to hold your hand. We're going to get through this together, and we're going to all know what we're supposed to be cheering for when we get to the games on Tuesday. We're going to get to that coming up here in just a moment. First, we want to thank you again for making Locked On Magic part of your day every day, no matter when you listen to us, whether it's first thing in the morning, whether it's right when we upload. We truly appreciate you making Locked On Magic part of your day every day. Remember, there's a great Locked On podcast covering every single team in the NBA. Search for Locked On and the team you're looking for, the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day. Today's episode of Locked On Magic is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 moneyline bet. That's $150 if your team wins. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get started today. Also, a quick announcement for the show. We are going to be doing a live show today, or Tuesday for Wednesday. Tonight, Tuesday night, you'll be doing a live show on Twitter Spaces at @OMagicDaily, as well as on our YouTube page, youtube.com/@LockedOnMagic. We're going to be watching the results come in live from the in-season tournament and figuring out whether the Magic advance and who they will play in real time. We'll be at the decision desk, which is just me flipping to the other side of this table. And we will figure out everything we need to know about the Magic's in-season tournament hopes. Join us at 8:30 p.m. Eastern time. Again, that'll be on Twitter Spaces or X Spaces. I don't know what they're called anymore. At OMagicDaily, as well as on our YouTube page, youtube.com/@LockedOnMagic. Again, that'll start at 8:30 p.m. Eastern time and take us all the way to the end of the two games that we care about, specifically the two Group C games. Will take us all the way to the end of that game until we know who the Magic, what the Magic's fate ultimately will be. Bring your questions. Let's talk Magic basketball while we watch the games and watch results, and we'll see how it goes from there. But there was big news, big news, big celebratory news. The Orlando Magic are on a 7-game win streak. They're the longest win streak for this team since the 2011 season, since December 2010, right after the Magic made those franchise-altering and destroying trades, or turned out to be franchise-destroying trades. It didn't seem that way when they won 9 straight right out the gates. But this is a great time for Magic fans. Magic fans have not had it this good in a very, very long time. And I know they won 6 games in a row last year, but that got them to 11-20. This is different. This is a 7-game win streak that gets them to 12-5, that has them at the top of the Eastern Conference, that has everyone singing their praises. And so Monday was a day sort of for the Magic to kind of take in all this attention. And nowhere was that attention more present than in the NBA's weekly awards. For the first time in his career, Paolo Banchero is your Eastern Conference Player of the Week after averaging 23.5 points per game, 5.5 rebounds per game, and 5 assists per game for the Magic in a 4-0 week. He shot 54.4% from the floor overall, 10 of 19 from beyond the arc during this past week. It's brought his season averages up to 19.8 points per game, 6.5 rebounds per game, and 4.6 assists per game. with shooting splits of 48.8, 43.6, and 65.1. Get that free throw shooting percentage up, Mr. Banchero. That's the only thing keeping you from averaging 25 points per game here in the interim. After that slow start to the season where Paolo was struggling dealing with some double teams and probably trying to do a little bit too much to pass the ball and keep others involved, he's really found his groove. Whatever rhythm he needed to find or rest he needed to take after the run at the World Cup, Banchero has found it. And obviously he is a big part of what this Magic team wants to do. The fact that he is an excellent playmaker, the fact that he can average 5 assists per game is one of the reasons why he is a unique player and a potential championship level player on this team, because he can distribute and get others involved in a very meaningful and real way. And that part is exciting. And we're seeing it all start to come together. That's been the best part of all this, is we are seeing this team come together in real time and really figure out a lot of things. That's what this win streak's really been about, is this team has figured out a lot of things, and now you just hope that it continues. Monday, like I said, was a day of really celebrating this Magic team in a national spotlight. Lots of podcasts, including my appearance on Locked On NBA. Go check it out after the show. My appearance on Locked On NBA. No Dunks talked a lot about the Magic. I didn't see NBA Today, but I'm sure they talked about the Magic. Anscape had a big article from Mark J. Spears on Jamal Mosley and his approach to this team handling success. Josh Robbins of The Athletic was back in Orlando ahead of the Wizards coming to town, wrote a piece for The Athletic on this young team. The NBA.com has the Magic in the top 10 in their power rankings. The Ringer, I know some people were criticizing Kevin O'Connor a little bit for this. Kevin O'Connor's power rankings are based on title contention. He moved the Magic from 22nd to 14. Like, they're right outside the cusp of like the serious title contenders, or the outside title contenders in this league. That is a tremendous statement of how much this team has grown. And, I think everyone kind of assumed the Magic were going to get there eventually, or that it would take maybe a year of more growing pains before they got to where they are now. But they're here now. And like I said, I think I mentioned it yesterday, we do need to start thinking about changing our expectations about this team, that they're not just a play-in team. They're not just here for playoff scraps. They are here to make the postseason comfortably. They're here to fight for the 6th seed. They may be here to fight for the 4th seed. They may be that good. And obviously they've established themselves defensively. They're taking care of their business at home. They've got 2 home losses technically, but one loss at the Amway Center. This is a group that has found its groove, found its identity, and is just rolling and just full of confidence. That article from Anscape, though, by Mark Spears, which definitely go read it. It's anytime you get to hear Jamal Mosley talk about his philosophies, you understand why everyone buys into this dude. He wants everyone to celebrate these moments and celebrate these things, but understand that there's still a lot more work to go. And when you talk to the Magic throughout the day Sunday, everyone seems very happy with how they're playing and obviously very thrilled about the winning, but none of them are satisfied. You don't see a team that is focused on the external stuff that we're focusing on today. You see a team that is very hungry to keep this thing driving forward, to understand that this is the beginning of things. And that's the important thing here too. This is the beginning of something. This Magic team is still building its consistency and still building what it's going to be day to day, game to game. And whether they can do this on a nightly basis, whether they can do this for the whole season, for a whole 82 game season, it ain't easy. It's not easy. And this team's never done it. So if there's still some skepticism out there, that is fair. That's warranted. They haven't proven themselves yet. But this is a team that is experiencing success in a major way for the first time. And that's the challenge now. That's the challenge of this week with, playing the Hornets on Sunday. They struggled a little bit with Charlotte. They fell into that trap a little bit, but they gutted out that win. Like I said, if we were Boston, for a team like Boston that's been through this, I think we look at that loss very differently and very critically. But for this team right now, because they've never done this before, to see them stumble a little bit, maybe lose their focus a little bit, maybe give into some fatigue a little bit, to see them power through and end up with a runaway win, I still think is an incredible accomplishment and something to celebrate. Now you know, and now we'll play Washington on Wednesday, and we'll see if this team can maintain the requisite focus. Obviously, so much of this, though, starts with the start. And the Magic aren't where they're at without winning the number one pick. They're not where they're at without getting that Paolo Banchero pick right. They're not where they're at if Paolo Banchero especially, and Franz Wagner too, aren't just humble, hard workers, guys that just want to get down, defend, that want to be about what this team is about. These guys set the tone for really the whole team and the togetherness of this team and the energy of this team. They've accomplished some things in the NBA already, but they're clearly not. Franz Wagner's coming off a 30-point game where he was awesome. Paolo Banchero's coming off a 23-point game where he was awesome. As Mosley said in the piece on Anscape, these guys don't care who gets the glory. They just care that they get the win, that they're working together to get wins. And that's such an incredible approach, especially for young players trying to prove themselves and make their way in this league. It's working. It's all working right now. So a lot to celebrate, a lot to be happy about. We got 2 days to really celebrate this. We'll see the Magic at practice on Tuesday, but there's a lot to celebrate and a lot to build on as we look ahead to the next set of games. And of course, the in-season tournament is a part of that. So let's get to the meat of the episode. What everybody is wondering, because people have asked me, and I've sat down, I've crunched the numbers, what the Magic need to do to advance in the in-season, or what the Magic need. They can't do anything. They're sitting on the sidelines because they're done. What the Magic need to advance in the in-season tournament. We'll talk about that coming up here in just a moment. But first, a quick word from our friends over at FanDuel. As the weather gets cooler, I saw on my watch, it's under 50 here in Central Florida. So it is officially Big Ten football weather season here in Florida. Stay out of the water. It's too cold all of a sudden. The NFL offers will stay hot, though, on FanDuel. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 moneyline bet. That's $150 if your team wins. If you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, there's no better time to get in on the action. The app is so easy to use. There's a wide range of betting options, including spreads, player props, over-unders, and more. So visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and start your NFL season, even if it's a bit late, off right. FanDuel is an official partner of the NFL. I told you earlier to check out the Locked On NBA podcast to see me and Jackson Gatlin chop it up a little bit. I think that's how the kids use that word. And talk a little about Magic's hot start. If you want anything on the Locked On Podcast Network, the best place to go is to our 24/7 streaming channel, the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube. Locked On Sports Today is here for you 24/7, covering the top sports stories of the day with the local experts of Locked On, plus our national shows covering every league. Go to Locked On Sports Today on YouTube and subscribe to the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel today. Don't forget to, we'll be streaming live at 8:30 p.m. Eastern time, doing our live in-season tournament final day, decision day, watch along. We'll watch the Brooklyn Nets play. I'm going to have the Brooklyn Nets Toronto Raptors game on my TV. That is the one that matters most. I'll explain why in a bit. And we'll be following all the scores. So bring your Magic questions and your Magic discussion. We will chat some Orlando Magic basketball throughout the evening until probably about 10 o'clock. So it'll be a longer episode tomorrow. But if you want to join live, go ahead and do so on our YouTube page or on Twitter Spaces at OMagicDaily. Okay, let's get to it then. The math here is complicated. It's not complicated, but it is complicated. The in-season tournament group phase will officially end Tuesday night, the final night of group play games, as teams will play that fourth and final game in their groups before we get set for the quarterfinals, which will take place December 4th and December 5th at team sites. So potential for a game to be at the Amway Center. I'll explain why that is highly unlikely. But we're going to start here with Group C, because the easiest path for the Magic to reach the in-season tournament is to win Group C. Orlando did its job. When the schedule came out, we looked at that schedule and we said, look, if the Magic can somehow go 3-1 with a win over the Boston Celtics, there is a very good chance that they will advance in the in-season tournament. Regardless of what happens next, and I'll talk about this more tomorrow, I'm sure. Regardless of what happens next, the Orlando Magic should be very proud of what they accomplished in these 4 games. They should be very proud that even if there wasn't that much more pressure in these games, that in games that did have some extra meaning, they showed up. They should be proud that, yes, they slipped a little bit in the Brooklyn game. And I think Paolo was the one that mentioned that they didn't even that maybe they didn't realize it was an in-season tournament game or how important it was to keep that close, because that might be what ultimately cost them a chance at going to the quarterfinals here. But they responded in kind against the Bulls. They responded against the Raptors, and they certainly responded against the Celtics. Jason Tatum not happy with the Magic for running up the score a little bit, but we don't make the rules. We just follow them. We want to win. We want to win a trophy too, Jason. Like that's our deal here. So the Orlando Magic sit right now in first place in Group C. They are 3-1 with a plus 22 point differential. Again, that 20-point loss to the Nets. It's not that they lost to the Nets. It's that they lost big to the Nets. That's going to put them in a little bit of a bind here. I'm going to explain that a little bit more in a moment when we get to the wild card in our next segment. Essentially, the easiest path for the Magic to advance is to stay in first place in Group C. Obviously, they can't do anything about that. So here's where the tiebreakers are. The tiebreakers are first record, obviously. Magic are 3-1. The wild card is essentially guaranteed to be 3-1. So the Magic do have a chance. They will be in the conversation to advance to the wild card. They put themselves in a very good spot, but it is not secure. The second tiebreaker is head-to-head in group stage. Here in Group C especially, it's null. The Celtics are 2-1. They beat the Nets, who are 2-1, who beat the Magic, who are 3-1, who beat the Celtics, who are 2-1. So if everybody finishes with one loss, it doesn't matter. Nothing matters. We'll go to the third tiebreaker, which is point differential. And if that's tied, we go to total points in group stage. If that's tied, we go to 2023 season record. I'm not sure if there is a tie on if there's a tie in point differential, if we go back to head to head. I kind of think we do. Maybe we don't. I don't know. But that's also something to consider. So we will hopefully, it's very unlikely that's going to happen in Group C. The wild card might get a little trickier. Group C, and obviously there's no head to head there. That's not going to happen in Group C. So here is the simple scenario. Just plain and simple. The reason why I'm watching Nets Raptors. If the Brooklyn Nets lose to the Toronto Raptors at Barclays Center on Tuesday, the Orlando Magic win Group C and advance to the quarterfinals of the in-season tournament, likely to play the Milwaukee Bucks are 3-0, so they'll either play the Milwaukee Bucks or the Indiana Pacers, likely on the road. The Pacers will be seated above Orlando because they're 4-0. Milwaukee is currently 3-0. They play Miami. We'll get to the Group B situation here in a minute. So essentially, a Brooklyn Nets loss to the Toronto Raptors. Everything's simple. The Magic move on. So go Raptors, I guess. I know that's blasphemy to say. Go Raptors. We want Toronto to win on Tuesday. If Brooklyn wins, then the Magic do need the Celtics to win Group C. They need to force that three-way tie, because if it's a two-way tie, Brooklyn beats Orlando, because Brooklyn beat Orlando by 20 in the in-season tournament. This is where it gets complicated. So Brooklyn is 2-1 with a plus 8 point differential. Boston is 2-1 with a plus 0 point differential. So Orlando has essentially a 14-point lead on the Nets. So here's what needs to happen. The Orlando Magic need the Brooklyn Nets to defeat the Toronto Raptors by fewer than 14 points, and for the Boston Celtics to defeat the Chicago Bulls at the TD Garden by fewer than 22 points. I want to repeat that. They need the Nets to win by fewer than 14 points and the Celtics to win by fewer than 22 points. If Brooklyn wins and Boston loses, Brooklyn advances. That part is simple. If Brooklyn wins, Orlando needs Boston to win. Things get a little complicated if we get to the kind of point differential. Brooklyn is 106 points away from tying that part for the Magic. So if all three teams are somehow tied, if it's a 14-point win by Brooklyn and a 22-point win by Boston, then it comes down to this last tiebreaker. The Magic would need the Nets to score fewer than 106 points. They would need the Celtics to score fewer than 122 points. So again, lots of complicated stuff there, but let's simplify it. The Orlando Magic advance in the in-season tournament with a Brooklyn Nets loss or close wins by both Brooklyn and Boston. Boston has to make up 22 points. Brooklyn has to make up 14. So if we start seeing Brooklyn around 10, we should get a little nervous. Again, we'll see what happens. We'll see how it plays out. We got to let the games play out. These two teams have to catch Orlando. Jason Tatum spoke to the media, I believe it was after Sunday's game, and said he does not like the point differential, but be sure Boston knows the point differential. They know how much they need to beat Chicago by to have a shot at this thing. And be real, they've got to pass Orlando. To win. They're the last team in the wild card right now. So they've got a lot of work to do. Even if they can't pass Orlando, they've got to pick up points. They've got to score. So winning Group C is the easiest path for the Magic to get to the quarterfinal round. It is not the only path, but as I'm going to explain in the next segment, winning the wild card is very, very unlikely for the Orlando Magic. They will need the Nets and Celtics to help them out to get to the quarterfinal. We'll go through those wildcard scenarios, explain the format a little bit more. We'll get to that coming up here in just a moment. But first, a quick word from our friends over at PrizePicks. It's going to be a fun day Tuesday. I'm honestly really, really excited to sit down, watch the games. I'm going to put on my best Wolf Blitzer impersonation. We're going to go to the decision desk. I'm going to roll up my sleeves like Steve Kornacki. It really does feel like that. We're just going to be watching the results roll in and hope that the Magic come out on top. Hopefully Maricopa County goes in our favor. But if you want to participate in the games, PrizePicks is the daily fantasy option for you. If you are sure that Jason Tatum is not going to deliver like he didn't deliver in Game 7 against the Heat last year, you can go ahead and put the less on Jason Tatum on his point total on PrizePicks, because PrizePicks is the best daily fantasy game. All you do is put together an entry of 2 to 6 players and say whether they're going to go more or less than their projections. So Jason Tatum, you think you got to score 22 points? I'm going to say you're going to score less than your projected 24.5 points or whatever it is. Spencer Dinwiddie, you think you need 14 points? Well, I'm going to say you're going to score less than your 14.5 point projection. It's really that simple. Plus, they offer some great deals, some great options too with NFL season here. You get a chance to make some fun. Get the chance to have some fun and win some prizes, win up to 25 times your money. So go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNBA and use code LockedOnNBA for a first deposit match of up to $100. Again, go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNBA and use code LockedOnNBA for a first deposit match of up to $100. Okay, Group C is straightforward. There's a head-to-head. We know what has to happen. Nets win, Nets lose. That'd be the best thing. Or Nets win by less than 14 and Celtics win by less than 22. Celtics win by 23, Celtics advance. It's that the math there is simple. The wild card standings though, oh boy. If you think that last segment was hard to follow, and look, I put the standings up on OrlandoMagicDaily.com with these things bulleted out. I will be referring to it constantly throughout the night on Tuesday. You can check it out there. It'll be up in the morning if you're listening to this overnight. The wild card is much more complicated to figure out. Okay. Like I said, to advance in this tournament, you have to be 3-1. So Philadelphia 2-2 is out. You are going to have to be 3-1 to advance in this tournament, at least from the Magic's perspective. If the Magic are 3-1 and aren't, if the Magic are 3-1, they're either advancing as Group C or the wild card. If the wild card's 2-2, the Magic are advancing as the winner of Group C. It's that simple. So here's the deal. The Milwaukee Bucks are 3-0, plus 39 point differential. They beat the Hornets by like 30 points. They're leading Group B. They play the Miami Heat. They're 2-1 with a plus 11 point differential. New York is 2-1 with a plus 18 point differential. Group B is not determined. Group B is still very much up in the air, and Milwaukee is essentially guaranteed to advance. The only way Milwaukee doesn't advance is if Miami blows them out. And if Miami blows them out, they're winning Group B. Just plain and simple. So you can slot those two teams there. New York is the tricky one. So New York is playing, I believe, at Charlotte on Tuesday. They're 2-1 with a plus 18 point differential. So all these teams, the teams that are still alive, Milwaukee, Orlando are leading their groups. New York, Miami, Brooklyn, Cleveland, Boston. A loss by any of those helps out the Magic tremendously. Any of those teams lose, and obviously either Milwaukee or Miami are going to lose. I'll get to that scenario coming up here in a bit. Any of those teams lose, that's great, except for Boston, which would not be good unless Brooklyn also loses. Again, confusing. Losses are fine when we're talking about the wild card strictly. New York, though, is the challenge. New York at 2-1, playing Charlotte at plus 18. Means the Magic either need a Knicks loss to the Hornets or for the Knicks to win by fewer than 4 points. If they win by 4, they need to score fewer than 121 points. They trail the Magic by 121 points. To say the least, I think New York's going to beat Charlotte by more than 4. LaMelo Ball is currently listed as doubtful after his nasty fall in Sunday's game. If you had to ask me, the wild card isn't going to happen for this Magic team. I don't see the Magic winning the wild card because I don't see New York losing to Charlotte. Just plain and simple. Like if they do, that is a miracle, and somebody wants us to win this thing. But again, some of the other scenarios are a little bit more believable. And Milwaukee Bucks lost to the Miami Heat by more than 17 points. Would be very good for the Magic. If the Bucks lose by more than 17, then the Magic pass them. They get a chance for the wild card. That's why I said Milwaukee's essentially guaranteed to advance. A Miami Heat loss to the Milwaukee Bucks. A Miami Heat win by fewer than 11 points, which is not possible, would keep Miami from passing us. So you need a Milwaukee loss by more than 17, a Miami win by fewer than 11. So again, that's not gonna happen. A Milwaukee win probably helps the Magic out the most because that just eliminates Miami. Again, it's impossible for Milwaukee to lose and for Orlando to stay ahead of them. Essentially in the wild card race. That's important because of New York. New York has the better point differential. They can pass Orlando again with a win by fewer than 4 points. We know the Brooklyn situation. We know the Boston situation. Orlando also needs a Cleveland loss or to the Atlanta Hawks or a win by fewer than 16 points. So again, it's a lot. There's a lot of numbers here. I've thrown a lot of numbers at you here. The wild card situation is quite simple. Orlando needs Milwaukee to beat Miami, and they need the Knicks to lose or win by fewer than 4 points. That is the wild card scenario. Again, not very likely. The Magic's path to get into the next round is to have Brooklyn lose or have Brooklyn and Boston win by the amounts that I said earlier. Brooklyn by fewer than 14 points, Boston by fewer than 22. That is the scenario. That is the basics of this scenario. And again, this is how it is. I do agree with Jason Tatum. I don't like that point differential decides these things. I do think that it incentivizes the wrong things. There is probably no better way to do it. This is the first time we're doing this tournament. There are going to be natural and important tweaks made to it for next year. This has been wildly successful. I think the NBA could not imagine that this would be as successful as it is. We're going to get really excited for kind of a decision day type deal on Tuesday. I'm kind of weirded out that they're not having everyone play the same games at the same time like they do on the final day of the regular season. Maybe that's a tweak for next year too. But this is the first time we're doing this. It's going to get better. I'm really excited for the knockout rounds. I think they're going to be a lot of fun. And honestly, I hope the Magic can play in the knockout round. I think that would serve this team tremendously. I think it would help them out a ton. And that would be a big boost for this team and to give them that experience of playing a meaningful game, even on the road, even if it's Indiana, playing at Indiana again in a tournament game, I think would be huge. And Indiana is, I think, first in their group. Let me pull up my standings. I think I wrote something down wrong. Hold on a sec. Indiana, I believe, is first right now at 4-0. Yeah, they're 4-0 plus 39. Milwaukee's 3-0 plus 39. So Milwaukee's probably going to be the top seed. Indiana will be the 2 seed. So that would mean Orlando would head to Indiana. Orlando cannot pass either because they'd both be 4-0 as the groups and Group C. So there's still a lot to play with there. So again, the simple thing is a Brooklyn loss or a Brooklyn win by fewer than 14 points and a Boston win by fewer than 22 points. And the Magic are going to the quarterfinal round, likely to play the Indiana Pacers at Gainbridge Fieldhouse. That's all I got. That's the scenario. That's the situation. We're going to see it for the live show at 8:30. So I want to thank you all again for listening to today's episode of Locked On Magic. Of course, find me on Twitter at PhilipRR_OMD. Subscribe to the podcast and Apple Podcasts. Stitcher, TuneIn, Himalaya, Google Play, Spotify, Odyssey, and all of us download podcasts to your podcast-enabled listening device. Find us on YouTube at youtube.com/@LockedOnMagic. Subscribe to our channel there. Of course, for the latest on the Orlando Magic, be sure to check out OrlandoMagicDaily.com. You can follow us on Twitter at OMagicDaily. And of course, check out my Patreon page, the Orlando Magic Hub, for latest from practice on Tuesday, patreon.com/Orlando Magic Hub. A lot to throw at you there. We will see you all at 8:30 p.m. Eastern time for our live show. That'll be on Twitter Spaces at OMagicDaily, as well as on the Locked On Magic YouTube page. We're going to go live until we know the Magic's fate. So bring your Magic questions. It's going to be a mailbag episode. We'll chat Orlando Magic basketball and everything we've seen from this team so far, as well as react in real time to what is going on with these games. Don't forget to check out the Locked On Sports Today 24/7 streaming channel, the first 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube. You can hear from all the great local hosts and the latest from the sports world around every sport, NFL, NBA, NHL, college, you name it, MLB, they got it on the Locked On Sports Today channel. That's going to do it for me today. Until next time, until 8:30 p.m. tonight, we'll see you all again for another episode of Locked On Magic.